Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, and my colleague, Russell Berger from the Offit Kurman Labor and Employment Group. And this week, we're going to talk a little bit about litigation. So, we talk a lot about on this program about policies and how to avoid litigation and how to, make sure you're being compliant with laws. But I know I'm starting to see an uptick in litigation now that we're hopefully headed out of COVID at some point this year. Courts will hopefully be reopening. And so I know I've been starting to see some movement on the litigation front. And so figured today we talk a little bit about just kind of, if you don't have policies in place, or even if you do, and you get sued or you get brought into an administrative process, like, something through the EEOC, or, you find yourself in that situation, kind of what that looks like and what that cost looks like. And I know that a lot of our clients are surprised to find just really how much of a cost is associated even with winning. Even if they've done everything right, just in having to fight the fight. And, so I think that's always an interesting thing to talk to clients about. Has that been your experience as well, Russell?
Yeah, I think really the best way to win a lawsuit is to avoid the lawsuit. And obviously you don't know the lawsuits you've avoided, so it's hard to kind of keep score of that. But what we see all the time is, even when you have a pretty decent case, there's still costs associated with, defending that case and maintaining your position, whether it be, attorney fees, opportunity costs, whether it's your time as the CEO, you got to spend it thinking about a lawsuit instead of being out there driving revenue and driving growth for your business. The same thing with your staff. People have to gather documents, and spend their time supporting the litigation effort, and also just kind of the headache factor. You're dealing with a lawsuit. It's probably not something the not all business owners can just shake and go into their weekend and not think about it. So it's something that kind of hangs over you as well. For all those reasons, even when you have a good defense, the idea is to, build up a program that reduces the risk of lawsuits happening, and high level anyway. That's done by things like putting programs in place, putting compliance policies in place, having documentation of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and just kind of building up your record so that, number one, employees know that you're doing the right things, which is going to reduce the risk of lawsuits. And number two, if those lawsuits, are at least threatened, it's easy to push back right away strongly. Say, look, this isn't going to go anywhere. You're wasting your time. Go away. Don't even bother filing this. Because really, once you go past that threshold and you're in court or you're in front of the EEOC, now all those costs I mentioned are coming into play.
Yeah, and I think you hit on two really important things and important reasons to have your house in order, so to speak. It's the making it easier if you do, if something is frivolous, it makes it easier for us to do our job and kind of, cut things off as they get started. If we've got a really clean record and the house is in order and things are really, a lot of times I'll tell my clients, like, I'm looking for exhibit A. What's exhibit A? How are we, let's think this through. How are we making sure that you keep good records so that, we can deal with these things if they come along. And then the other thing that you brought up that is a really good point about keeping your house in order is just the employee perception and morale. And, that also really helps avoid lawsuits and things as well. So if you're communicating well with your employees, you have good policies in place, and it really helps on that end as well, because you're dealing with people here. I mean, that's a big part of employment law as a genre of law, so to speak, is that it's the people aspect of your business. And so we're all human beings, right? So we know how that can be, and there's a lot of emotions on both sides of these things often. And so that can be mitigated a lot just through the way that you're running your business and communicating with employees and having good clear policies.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they say, if you have a good relationship with the person, they're less likely to sue you, even if you mess something up. So I think that's all, that's another reason why good policies are very important, as you mentioned. And a footnote to all of this too is, if you can't head off the litigation and you find yourself in litigation, like you said, you're going to want to have Exhibit A, and you're going to want to have, all the way through Exhibit Z as well. You want to have all these documents in place. You want to be prepared, because if you're going to have the fight, as the lawyers, we want to have the ammunition to be able to fight the fight.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely. And it's always helpful when we walk in and there's that, and it deters the attorneys on the other side too. I think is another thing worth mentioning as well. If I can, in the preliminary conversations, if I can say to opposing counsel, well, I know your clients told you all this, but let me show you all this documentation and communication that says otherwise. As myself being married to a plaintiff's attorney as well, I mean, doesn't do employment, but when he's choosing cases and he's trying to figure out what he wants to invest his time in and what's worthwhile, he's got to vet the cases, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. So it's just the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better. It doesn't mean you're never going to deal with litigation and that you're never going to deal with something, even if it's if it's completely out of left field and there's not any substance to it. You still have to deal with it, but you just want to put yourself in the best position to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. And you want to create as much a deterrent by having good, sound policies, compliant policies, policies employees are aware of, as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think these are good takeaways, and we'll see you next week, Russell.
Thanks, Sarah.
I like ones like this. There's like